Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my spoiler-free review for Joyride. This is the brand new mid-budget comedy movie that comes out this weekend in theaters. And we've been getting some amazing mid-budget comedies recently, from No Hard Feelings to The Blackening, as well as Theater Camp, which comes out in a few weeks. But out of all of the amazing mid-budget comedy movies that we've gotten this year, Joyride is definitely the craziest one. This movie was also produced by Seth Rogen and written by the writers of Crazy Rich Asians. And it has that perfect balance of just being absolutely crazy, but also having some emotion to it.
Slides off limits to ching-chongs.
This movie follows 4 girls, one of which is visiting Asia for a business trip, but the other 3 are just tagging along as they have a wild and no-holds-back experience that changes exactly what they love about themselves. Now, obviously, comedy is the main element of this movie, and it is a very hard R movie, but I will also say, as much fun as it is, and as much as my theater was laughing, it did feel like sometimes they were cussing like they just learned how to cuss.
Like the noises?
I think where the comedy kind of dips for me is because a lot of it felt like shock value and just like, oh my god, I can't believe they just showed that on the theater screen. And there is some really good writing, and there's some really funny things they do, especially when talking about Asian culture in mainstream media. And they don't do it in a super corny or annoying way. I really love the way that they portray it. But again, some of the absolutely insane, like mind-blowingly funny moments, a lot of them do come from just, okay, we want to shock you a little bit, so we're just going to throw this in there. But nevertheless, I think another thing that is very, very funny is the story pieces, or like the adventure transitions. I'm going to talk about the story again in a second here, because I do quickly want to mention the cast, because they are what carries this movie. It's the delivery, the performances, the chemistry is what I think ties this movie together, because you have parts of this movie that are from very vastly different areas. Like if you took stills from the beginning, middle, another middle, and then the end of the movie, you would feel like you're watching 4 completely different movies, because they're in 4 completely different set locations, and it just feels like the adventure is going absolutely crazy directions. But I think the cast is what really brings it together, and it does have those cliche story moments, which again I'll talk about in a second, but the cast is really, really great. You have Ashley Park, Stephanie Soo, Cherry Cola, and Sabrina Wu.
Honey, you good? Are they coming out?
Yeah, but only 7, and I think I put an 8.
Just push, pull, twist it.
It's not a puppet, it's my asshole!
Also, there is a small role in this movie played by Ronnie Chang, and he's one of the best parts of this movie. He's only in it for a little bit, but he is hilarious. But yeah, I think the character work is as good as it can get in this kind of movie. Again, mid-budget comedy movie. It's very just adventure-y, going all over the place, trying to get from point A to point B to point C to point D. You aren't really getting much time for character stuff, so the character work itself just feels a little corny, feels a little bit cheesy, but that's kind of what happens when you have a story that's this adventure-y. And to an extent, I will say, it kind of just felt like a checklist. It kind of felt like you're going to this location, this location, this location, and it just felt like, yeah, they're exploring Asia, they're having all this funny commentary. There was one moment in the movie that was absolutely perfectly comedically timed, and it was right after the main twist of it all, and that's what got the most laughs out of my entire theater. But within that chunk of the movie is when it felt like a truly emotional character moment, and not something like, okay, we're trying to get from this place to this place. I think to an extent, the adventure element of it kind of started to feel like an SNL skit towards the end, because they were doing so much. And even in the middle of the movie, I think it felt like that a little bit, but the comedy kind of masked it. But when you got towards the end of the movie and you leaned into the emotional side, it didn't hit as much, because it still felt like an SNL skit and the comedy wasn't there to alter it in any way. I think a lot of the adventures in and of themselves, the things that take you from point A to point B, B to C, those feel so crazy and so stupid at times that they feel like SNL skits, and that kind of drags down the enjoyment, but at the same time, they're just funny. I also have the sense of humor of a 3-year-old, so I laugh at basically anything, and these were just the raunchiest, most stupid jokes, and so I laugh. But again, that vibe was still there of it just feeling a little bit off and just it wasn't really for the plot. They wanted to just do something absolutely insane and then move on, absolutely insane and then move on. Just in general though, mid-budget comedies are never technically magnificent or anything like that. But I will say, out of the ones that came out this year, I think The Blackening at least had a little bit of style and oomph to it. Obviously, this movie had some crazy things that they did just conceptually, but The Blackening actually had some cool things going on with the style, whereas here and even in No Hard Feelings, it kind of just felt mid-budgety. Anyways, that's pretty much all of my thoughts on Joyride. I'm gonna settle with around a 6 out of 10, but I'd still definitely recommend this movie because it's another mid-budget comedy movie that I think is pretty funny. If you've seen or want to check out Joyride, let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any time I upload a video or I go live. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.